So they're not doing that. Well, then the other goal is to promote and celebrate interpretations of Islam or actual Muslims who are liberal, who are committed to liberalism and libertarianism or whatever, or on the left, or Muslim feminists. Like, if you think that Islam is misogynistic, why are you going after and attacking Muslim feminists? Like, that's a bizarre kind of thing. Well, their goal is to destroy that gray zone. Their goal is to destroy the gray zone of coexistence that exists, and that I think is worth fighting for. And so, yeah, if you Google my name, like, one of the first pages you get is like this page on like bare naked Islam about how I'm not funny and how they hate me and stuff like that. And it's not a sad thing, because it's like those people aren't going to be my fans anyway. Like, I didn't lose anybody by falling out of favor with bare naked Islam. So I don't know if that answers your question.
How can we, either you using comedy or just we in general, those people who want to maintain and strengthen the gray zone, how can we better? It
exists. We hire them. We work with them. I mean, like,
sure.
That's just true in general. I think people naturally. I had a post about this yesterday, but I think that people's behaviors are not really bigoted. Like, people, like if they cost something, then bigotry tends to go away. Like, if you poll Houston, there's like 2 million people in Houston. If you poll them, maybe 10% will say that Islam is a threat to civilization. That's 200,000 people. If you then go to like an anti-Muslim protest in Houston, it's like 8 people. Okay, so like and then it's like nice outside on a Saturday, so like there's really no reason why people shouldn't be there. Like, so it either means that they don't really believe it, or they're like the worst National Guard ever. And they're like, okay, well, we're being invaded, but I do have to drop off Madison at soccer practice, and so I can't come. Like, it's really weird. And so I think most people, even like the most racist people that I know, or like the most Islamic people, Islamophobic people that I know, they behave decently to people like of those, like, they have bad beliefs in their heads. But they don't actually try to, like, I've never seen someone try to deport an immigrant. Like, just
like
physically,
like drag them
themselves,
out.
like you find an immigrant next door, you go there. I mean, that does happen sometimes. There are hate crimes and there are domestic terror groups that take into their own hands. Those people are a tiny, tiny part of the population. However, like half the population will vote to have someone else do it. And so, the idea that I have is just like, in economics, there's your revealed preference and your stated preference. And your stated preference, for I'm sure you know this, but like, for listeners, your stated preference is like your Netflix queue. It's like the stuff you say you want to watch. And then your Netflix history is like all the stuff that you have. Like, that's your revealed preference. So my stated preference is that I really want to watch documentaries. My revealed preference is that I want to watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Those are basically, that's like the distinction. But government is the way that we enact our stated preferences. And so people in general, I think, live in that gray zone. I mean, even people who like have bad thoughts or like have negative opinions, like, they go and eat at at places that are made by immigrants. They will, if they meet the right one, sometimes fall in love with someone who is an immigrant. Like, all that stuff gets overpowered pretty easily once you. So, you don't really have to encourage people. Sometimes you do, but like, to interact with people who are different than them. I think we just do.
As you were saying this, something occurred to me I'm curious about, but let me try to talk this out because I'm not sure that the idea is all that clear in my own head. But so social media, which has been, that's where people, when you're looking for racism and you're looking for evidence of the existence of the alt-right, you point to social media. But social media strikes me as like a medium that is largely performative. Like it's not really like, we're not really projecting who we are. We tend to just take on roles. And so there's always people get depressed because their friends always seem to be having a good time on Instagram. And why is my life not like that? But their friends' lives aren't like that either. It's just what they're choosing to share. So I wonder putting that in the context of these of stated versus revealed preferences, if the social media performative aspect plays up the kind of stated preferences of racism, of Islamophobia, and so on, because people, you fall into roles that people are kind of naturally combative on social media. Like it's fun to get into arguments. It's trolling, and so how much of this rising wave of right-wing ugliness isn't really real? It's just people kind of playing roles and having fun on social media?
Well, it's not real in the sense. So, I mean, okay, so yeah, those are like cheap beliefs they have. They are, performative type things. But the problem is that when they vote, so like that stuff spreads, and when you vote, that it's the same thing. You're expressing a cheap belief. You are expressing that, and so you don't have to worry about I don't think that with the rise in Islamophobia on the internet, I don't think that people should be extremely worried about like a giant rise in hate crimes. So like people actually going out there and doing it themselves. There is some, I've talked to Muslims who work for the FBI, who are like, okay, there is a rise. There has been a rise, but it's not nearly as big as the media makes it out to be. It's a combination of hysteria and hoaxes. And so I don't think people should be like terrified to go outside, and because people are going to take it into their own hands, but they will vote, and they will support the government doing it. So even if it's performative online, I still think that people, who, like, let's say you're performing, that you want to build a wall, right? And like, some of that is because you think you should build a wall. Some of that is like because it feels cool to say build a wall, and it pisses people off to say build a wall, so you do it. Okay, well, that means that you're probably not going to yourself go and build a wall. You're not going to do anything. You're not going to donate to build a wall, maybe. But you will vote to have it build a wall, and you'll be happy if the government does it. And so I think it's real in the sense that it causes people to change their attitudes towards government. But I don't think it's real in the sense they're going to like go out there and do it themselves.
What advantage does humor have to changing people's beliefs? And I mean in two ways. A comparatively to persuasive essays and things like this. And then B, is there an advantage that maybe libertarian humor uniquely has, or that there's a unique way that libertarians can make perceptive observations that maybe a lot of people might agree with but not realize?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I do libertarian humor. I don't like putting adjectives before comedy or anything. But I think that it's sort of like saying Christian rock. Like if you define yourself like that, it's like your music is going to suck. But so I'm trying to think.
Well, for example, it has struck me. I mean, regarding the first question was what unique way can humor change people's beliefs compared to
others? So yeah, I don't know if humor. It's good to like plant seeds and to break open people's misconceptions and make fun of things. It's if you have a strong message in your comedy, then I feel like people realize it and their immune system kicks in and they reject it if they don't agree with it. So I think that your first goal should be funny. It should be to be funny. And your first goal should be to like explore issues, and like way down on the list is it to like change someone's mind who is in there. And I mean, so you don't necessarily have people in the audience who are just like, I never thought of it that way. Now I believe that. It's much more subtle and sort of behind the scenes in their subconscious.
And that's the second part of the question was about, because I one reason I've enjoyed your stuff so much is because it has upset me to some extent why there weren't many libertarian comics. And it's not so much I agree with you. Saying you're a libertarian comic is somewhat means you're probably going to suck. But that because we're somewhat we aren't as biased about political parties, for example, and we're able to see the absurdities in government. Because I think, for example, that Dr. Strangelove is a wonderful libertarian comedic movie, but it's not trying to be. And now we've seen all this sort of mini shows have come out, particularly like Veep and to some extent Parks and Recreation. I mean, I think Veep is basically a documentary it's the most accurate DC show. And everyone thinks this stuff is funny and you shouldn't take government very seriously. Right. But then, of course, they do, which is odd to me.
Right, then, of course, they do. Right. So you can enjoy Veep. And that's fine. Like, I mean, you don't want people to like only find you funny if you agree or if they agree with you. I mean, that's death for art. People should be able to appreciate it. I mean, because otherwise it's just propaganda and it's not art anymore. So yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think that there are people who, I don't know.
Well, I mean, there are always.
Yeah, no, but you're right. I mean, like, I remember when I was at the Students for Liberty conference, Stephanie Slade from Reason tweeted that there's a guy on stage and he's actually funny.
Yeah, exactly.
So I started putting actually funny hyphen Reason
the
magazine.
Actually funny Jeremy McClellan.
Actually funny in quotes, and then Reason next to my face on like posters and stuff like that. Like that was my review from Reason. I mean, I don't know. I think that if you set out to, I have these principles and I need to make them funny and get my audience to convert to, like, that's just awful. Like, I think that, but I think that if you're funny, then it just sort of comes out. And if you're passionate about something, it comes out. And I'm not necessarily passionate about, I like about an ideology. Like, I'm passionate about, like free immigration, and I'm passionate about, ending war, and I'm passionate about, civil liberties and things like that. So those are the things that sort of animate my my comedy. So, do
you have any favorite heckler stories? I figure there's. Any good alt-right heckling or of the sort?
No. I mean, even like the alt-right, like, if you meet someone who's in the alt-right, they're nice. Like, in person, like, everyone's nice in person. Like, people are just assholes online. Like, and, unless they're performing for someone else, they're generally nice. But I did make, there was a comedian who was a Trump supporter who, he wasn't very funny at all, and he would like sing songs on a guitar about like a terrorist blowing themselves up, and it was like, it wasn't funny. And there were like Trump supporters in the audience who didn't think it was funny. Like, this guy was just like, he would come to the open mics. He wasn't getting booked or anything, and he would wear like a propeller hat, like beanie thing,
like
on his head,
top or something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, something. It was weird, and so. He performed that with his propeller hat, and then I was hosting, and so I got up after him, and I said, I love the idea that you were getting ready to come here, and then, like, you're a Trump supporter, and you were trying to decide which hat to wear, and you were like, well, I don't want to look ridiculous, so I'm going to wear this hat. And he got really, really upset, and not in a normal way. Like, he posted like every day on Facebook something about me. He like got pictures of me on the internet, like off the internet, and like posted like memes of me, and like said that he had this whole conspiracy that like I was the reason why he wasn't making it in comedy. Like, it was this very bizarre thing. Like, he was like, I had nixed, and like, I'll book Trump supporters. Like, if a Trump supporter is funny, I will book them on a show. Like, that doesn't matter to me. But he was like, yeah, so he and